Hello students, welcome to the study portal. So today we are going to study histopathology unit 2 and the topic of the today's lecture will be staining procedures in histopathology. Okay, staining procedures in histopathology. So in today's lecture we are going to study what is histology, what is histopathology, what are the staining procedures we have going to perform in histopathology lab when we receive a sample. So we are going to discuss one by one each and everything about the staining procedures. Okay, so what will be the learning objective for today's class? So the learning objective for today's class will be introduction. Obviously I will give you introduction, what is exactly the histology and what is histopathology, why we have to done stainings, and routine staining procedures. So students, basically in histopathology there is a classification of stainings. There are different classifications of stainings. We have simple or we have routine stainings which we have done on routine basis in our laboratory. Then we have some special stains which we have done for some special diseases, and then we have some stains for particular material. Okay, so we are going to discuss each and every classification of the stains in today's lecture. So routine staining, H&E staining. H&E staining is a very common staining in histopathology lab and it is done on routine basis. So we are going to discuss H&E staining on detailed basis. Okay, then we have special stains as I've tell you just now, and then we will going to discuss what are the classification of all these stains. Okay, so first we are going to start with the routine staining procedure. So let's discuss first what is histopathology. See, there is a main subject, pathology, which you are going to study, and pathology have different branches as we all have know. So we have such as hematology, we have cytology, we have cytopathology, and we have histology. So today we discuss histopathology. So as I have told you that pathology have different branches such as hematology. So what is hematology? Hematology is the study of blood. Similarly, there is another branch, histopathology. So in histopathology, what we are going to study? In histopathology, we are going to study the presence or absence of any abnormality or presence or absence of any disease in the tissues, or there is abnormality due to the disease which is present in the tissues. So basically we have to diagnose the diseases which are present in our tissue sections, right? Examination of tissues for the presence or absence of any changes in their structure due to the disease process. If there is any disease, so is there any changes in their structure? Is there any abnormality present due to the disease? So for all these things we study histopathology, and we are going to done staining procedures so we can differentiate between the abnormalities which are present in our specimens, which are present inside our cells, which are present in our tissue sections. Okay, so there is a heading here, staining procedures in histopathology includes. So when we are doing stainings in our histopathology labs, so there are certain steps which we have to follow stepwise. Okay, these 5 steps, and these are common in all the staining procedures. Before start actual staining, suppose we are going to perform a H&E staining, so before that we have to prepare our specimen, and for this preparation we have these 5 steps which we have to done sequentially. Okay, what will be the first step? Specimen accessioning. What is the meaning of specimen accessioning? Specimen accessioning means that we have to first we receive the sample in the laboratory, then we are going to assess what type of sample is this. Is it a tissue sample? It is a biopsy? It is a tissue sample, it is a biopsy sample, if it is a tissue or it is an organ. Sometimes in histopathology laboratory we have received whole organs also, like we have received liver specimen, we have received breast specimen, we have received uterus, we have received intestines or sections of these organs. So first we have to access what type of tissue is this, what type of specimen is this. Okay, then we are going to study, then we are going to check is recognition form is there or not. What is recognition form? Recognition form is there or not. Always receive a sample in lab after checking the recognition form. If there is no recognition form is you receive with the sample, you can reject the samples. Okay, in the recognition form there is a detail of the patient and the specimen. There are details such as patient's name, age, gender, what type of disease he or she is suffering from, and the patient have any clinical history. So all the details are mentioned in your recognition form. So first you have to check the what type of sample we have received in the lab. Next, what you are going to check, is there any recognition form with the sample you have received or not, and then you have also checked the recognition form that all the details are clearly filled or not in the form with the stamp or signature of the particular physician or the doctor or the nursing staff. Okay, then what will be the next step? There is a gross examination. What is gross examination? You can also say a macroscopic examination. See, there when we receive any sample in any laboratory, either it is hematology, either it is histopathology, either it is microbiology. So we do two types of examination. First, we are going to perform macroscopic examination, which you can see with your naked eyes without microscope, and then we will proceed to the microscopic examination to check the further details or further structural details which we cannot see with our naked eyes. So you do the gross examination or macroscopic examination. Okay, what you are going to check in gross examination, like what is the shape of the sample you have received. Are the margins are regular or irregular? Is there any seen deformity which is visible with the naked eyes? So you have to write it down and you make a document on that details. Okay, so then you have proceed to the gross examination. You check what is the size of the specimen, what are the how their boundaries are there. There are regular or they are irregular, or is there any blood is present or not, is there any cyst is present or not which are visible with the naked eyes. Okay, so you proceed with the gross examination. Now after the gross examination there is a step, tissue fixation. What is tissue fixation? So students, again, any staining you are going to perform, any staining, either it is pathological, either it is microbiological, the initial step before the staining is the fixation. Fixation is very important step. Whatever be the sample you have received in the laboratory, first you have to make a slide and you have to fix your sample. Okay, like this. You took a glass slide, you took your specimen. Sometimes you have to make a smear, as in microbiology lab. In histopathology lab, you have to cut the small or very thin sections with the help of the cutting machine, which is known as microtome. So in histopathology lab, we have this is a cutting section. Cutting section of our specimen which we have received in our laboratory. So first what we are going to do, first we take a glass slide, we took our specimen either in a smear form or in a thin specimen which we are cut with the help of the microtomy. We have to fix the slides, either heat fixation, either chemical fixations. We have two types of fixations, heat fixation and chemical fixation. So basically heat fixation is normally done for the microbiological samples, for the bacterial samples, and in histopathology we are normally done with chemical fixation. Okay, so what are the chemicals we have done normally? We are used normally like formaldehyde, formalin, 10% formalin, or glutaraldehyde, or ethanol or methanol. So these are the normal chemical fixators which we are used on daily basis. So first we have to fix our specimen or fix our slide before start the staining procedure. Okay, so after the fixation you have received the sample, you assess your sample, then you have done with the gross examination, then you have done with your tissue fixation. Now what will be the next step in histopathology? The next step is tissue processing. Now you have to process your tissue for the staining procedures in histopathology lab. So it includes, processing includes certain steps again. So tissue processing includes dehydration, clearing and impregnation. There are certain steps included in the tissue processing: dehydration, clearing and impregnation. What is dehydration? As you have received, suppose you have received a liver sample, a liver organ as a tissue. Suppose you have received a organ sample in your histopathology lab, and this sample is a liver tissue or a liver organ, as an organ, whole organ. So it has some it has some water contains in it. The liver contains some water content in it, some fluid in it. So what we have to do, we have to dehydrate it. Okay, first we have to dehydrate it, so that in further steps we make block of it with the help of the paraffin wax, and easily cut with the help of the microtome machine in thin specimens, in thin slides or in thin sections. Okay, so first we have to dehydrate to remove all the water or fluid which is present in our specimen. Then we will proceed towards the clearing. When we done dehydration, so dehydration we done with the help of the alcohols in the increasing order of alcohols. Like first we have start with the 70% alcohol, then 80%, then 90%, and so on till 100%. So we put our specimen in increasing order of the alcohol so that it can easily dehydrate. So when we done this procedure of dehydration, so alcohol will be present on the slide or on our specimen. So now what we have to done, we have to clear that excess alcohol from our slide, so that when we doing staining, so we can clearly see under the microscope what are the structures present inside the tissue. So we have done clearing with the help of the xylene. Okay, so we have done clearing with the help of the xylene. What will be the next step? After clearing, you will proceed towards the impregnation. Impregnation, again you make the blocks. You make the blocks with the help of the paraffin wax. Okay, so after tissue processing, there is what will be the next step? Next you will proceed towards the tissue embedding. Okay, tissue embedding, as you know, we have to make a boxes, we have to make the blocks of our tissue which are already fixed in the paraffin wax, so that we can easily cut the sections. After the embedding, we have proceeded towards the sectioning and slide staining. Sectioning with the help of the microtome. So we have to cut the thin sections of the slide of our specimens, and then finally we can proceed towards the slide staining. Now we can start with our staining. So clear? Let's recall. In histopathology, what we are checking presence or absence of any deformity. Okay, then before start staining, we have certain procedures which we have to follow in our histopathology lab, such as First you have to assess your tissue, what type of tissue is it. Then you will proceed towards the gross examination. After, you will fix the tissue, and then you will process the tissues with certain procedures like dehydration, clearing and impregnation. And then finally we done the tissue embedding. After that we'll proceed towards the sectioning, and finally we are start with our staining procedures. So hematoxylin and eosin stain. Okay, so hematoxylin and eosin or H&E stain is the very common, and it is done on routine basis in our histopathology lab. Okay, so it is a routine stain. As first we are study only routine stainings. Okay, so in our routine staining category, we have H&E stain. It is the first most step but we have done in histopathology lab if we have to done stainings. Okay, so this is the routine staining. It is the first stain which is applied to the tissue sections. Okay, so it is also give a preliminary clues also. like what is present or absent in the tissues, is there any disease actually developed in our tissues or not. Similarly, gram stain, which we have done on microbiological samples, gram stain gave us a preliminary clue about the type of bacteria present in the sample. Similarly, H&E stain also gives us a preliminary clue or preliminary information about the diseases actually developed in our tissues or not. Okay. So it gives a diagnostic information in most cases, in most diseases, like any cancerous diseases, or if is there any cyst formation. So in most of the cases, this staining only gives us the diagnostic information. Okay. It is the most common staining technique in histopathology. It is the first most step. It is the very basic and routine staining which we have done in histopathology laboratory when we have received any tissue sample, any organ sample. Okay. So this uses the combination of two dyes. There is two dyes. One is hematoxylin, one is eosin. They are two dyes. They give different colors to the different components present in the tissues. Okay. So one dye is hematoxylin, second dye is eosin. Okay. For the demonstration of nucleus and cytoplasmic inclusion, H&E stain particularly we have done for the demonstration of nucleus and cytoplasmic inclusions in the clinical samples we have received in our laboratory. Okay. So we are particularly done for nucleus and for cytoplasmic inclusions. Now, so let's proceed with the principle of H&E staining. In H&E staining, what is the principle? We have a alum, and in H&E staining, alum acts as a mordant. What is the function of mordant? Mordant helps to retain the primary dye. Like whatever be the primary dye we have used in our staining procedures, such as here what we are using, two dye, hematoxylin and eosin. So hematoxylin is our primary dye. Okay, and eosin is our secondary dye or counter stain. So alum helps the tissues to retain the dye. It forms the dye complex with the dye and the tissue. Okay, so alum helps to tissue retain the primary stain. So alum acts as a mordant, and hematoxylin containing alum stains the nucleus light blue. So as we have read in the further slides with in the procedure section, first we have to proceed with the hematoxylin stain. So the hematoxylin stain contains the alum and it will stain the nucleus in the color light blue. Okay, what will be the next step? This turns red in the presence of acid. So when we have proceed with our first step in the hematoxylin step, so the environment is little acidic, and because of the acidic environment, the nucleus will be turned into the red color, slightly red color. As you have read, this turns red in the presence of acid as differentiation. Differentiation is achieved by treating the tissue with acid solution. So we have to differentiate, is it acid, it is nucleus, or it is a cytoplasm. What is the color? Because we have to color in different colors. We have to stain in different colors. Nucleus will take a different color, cytoplasm inclusions will take the different color. So we have to differentiate with the help of the acid solution. Bluing. There is a step, bluing. Bluing step converts the initial soluble red color within the nucleus to an insoluble blue color. So in H&E staining, nucleus basically takes a blue color. It takes a hematoxylin stain and it stains in a blue color. So in the next step, after when our nucleus turns in red color due to the acidic environment, so in our next step we will proceed with the bluing step. Okay, bluing step, what it will be done, it will change the environment from the acidic to the alkaline. Okay, from the acidic to alkaline, and it will change the color of the nucleus from the red to the blue color. Now the counter stain. In every staining procedures, this staining or the further stainings we have going to study today, so there is always a two stain. There is a primary stain or there is a counter stain. Counter stain is also known as secondary stain. Okay, so what is the counter stain here? Counter stain here is our eosin. So here hematoxylin is our primary stain and eosin is our counter stain or the secondary stain. So the counter stain is done with the eosin, which imparts pink color, to to the cytoplasm. Okay. Eosin, what is the function of the eosin? Eosin imparts pink color to the cytoplasm. So basically our hematoxylin stains the nucleus and our eosin stains the cytoplasm, and it gives different colors to different particles. So reagents, what are the reagents you have used in the hematoxylin stain? You have to know each and every reagents with their composition also. This is very important. What is the composition and what are the certain reagents we are going to use in our HNE stain? So first, the whole name of hematoxylin stain is Harris hematoxylin stain. As you have to mention in your exams also, Harris hematoxylin stain. So how much hematoxylin you have take? You have take 1 gram. 1 gram of hematoxylin in 10 ml. 10 ml of ethanol. You have to mention clearly what are the terms. What are the compositions? We have to take 1 gram of hematoxylin in 10 ml of ethanol. Okay. Next, what we have to do? We have two solutions, A and B. A and B. First, we have to take hematoxylin. Then in B, we have to take 20 grams of ammonium alum, which act as a moderant. As I've told you in principal section also, our staining hematoxylin already contains our alum for the moderant. Okay. So in next, we have to take ammonium alum in hot distilled water. Okay, we have to mix alum in hot distilled water. Then what we have to do? We have to mix A plus B, mix A and B, boil, and then we have to add 0.5 grams of mercuric oxide. Okay, we have to take sample A, we have to take sample B, then we have to mix it, boil it and filter it. Before filter, you have to add in the final step 0.5 grams of mercuric oxide, and always you have to filter the stain. Whatever stain you have prepared conventionally, you have to filter the stain before use. Okay, you also have to stand it for cool it down, and after it cool it down, it remains to the normal room temperature. Then you have to filter it and it is ready to use. Okay, so this is our hematoxylin stain. Now we have eosin solution. Yellow eosin. What is yellow eosin? You have, if you have noticed in our books or in our notes, sometimes it is written as eosin Y. So what Y signifies? Yellow, because eosin solution is yellow eosin basically. So we have to take 1 gram of eosin solution, okay, which we have to mix in the distilled water. Here 8 ml distilled water, and then we have to take ethanol. How much ethanol? 320 ml of ethanol. Okay, after that we have to take glacial acetic acid, only 2 drops. It is not in mls or grams. We have to take 2 drops of glacial acetic acid. Again we have to mix it and it is ready to use. 0.5% HCl and dilute ammonium water. So these are the whole reagents of HNE preparation if you are going to prepare this manually in your laboratories. Okay. So what is the procedure? As I've told you in the initial first step always will be fixation. We have to fix all the slides before starting. Okay, sorry. Before starting any staining procedure, first we have to fix our slides, either with the heat fixation, either with the chemical fixation. So here in the histopathology, what we are doing? Chemical fixation. Heat fixation is we have done for the microbiological sample. So here we have continue with the chemical fixations. So now after fixation or after the tissue processing, which we have already discussed, we have continue with the deparaffinize. So when we have done with the tissue processing steps, so at last we have done the paraffinize. We have make the blocks. We have make the paraffin blocks. So what we have to do? We have to remove that wax for the staining procedure. So first we have to deparaffinize the sections. What is the meaning of deparaffinize? We have to remove the wax, paraffin wax. Okay. So deparaffinize the section. Flame the slide burner and place it on the xylene. Repeat the treatment. So in histopathology, first make the one thing clear. When we done staining procedures in our histopathology laboratory, so we have number of boxes which we have placed in an order, like in an increasing order, in a decreasing order, with the different chemicals. Like there are boxes of alcohol, there are boxes of stainings. So we have boxes like this, glass boxes, which are placed on the slab in a particular order, either decreasing, either increasing order. Okay, so when we have to place it in the xylene, so we have a particular boxes. First you have to deparaffinize in the alcohol, then you have to put it in the xylene. So you have to repeat the treatment. Why we have to repeat the treatment? We have to repeat this step until whole wax is removed from our samples. Okay, and we have a clear slide for the staining purpose. So first we have to deparaffinize, next we have to hydrate. As we have discussed further, we have to first, when we receive the sample in the laboratory, we dehydrate it so that we can make the boxes in the paraffin wax. But now we have to perform the staining, so we have to again rehydrate our samples. So how we rehydrate? We rehydrate our tissue sections by passing through decreasing concentration of alcohol baths. Okay, here there is no increasing concentration but decreasing concentration. Like first we have to put in 100% alcohol, then 90%, then 80%, then 70%, and so on. So for rehydration we have to put our slides in decreasing order of the alcohol. Okay, after hydration you will start your staining, H&E staining. So stain in hematoxylin for 3 to 5 minutes. You have to put your slides in the hematoxylin stain box for the 3 to 5 minutes. Okay, we have a rack in which we have to place our slides, and then we will put hold the rack in the boxes, all the glass boxes which I have told you just now, in the which contains all the stains or all the solutions which we are required in the staining procedure. So you put your slides in hematoxylin for 3 to 5 minutes. Then you have to wash your slides in running tap water. Okay, until the sections blue for 5 minutes, because as I've told you, there is a little acidic condition when we start this procedure. So sometimes or always nucleus retain the red color, but we have to take the blue color in the nucleus. So we have to wash it in the running tap water. The environment will change from acidic to alkaline, and the color will be changes from red to blue color. Okay, so we have to wash our slides until the sections blue for 5 minutes or less. Then we have to differentiate. We have to differentiate in 1% acid alcohol or 1% HCl in 70% alcohols, again for 5 minutes. You have to know what are the concentrations. So for differentiation, we have 1% acid alcohol or 1% HCl in 70% alcohol, again for 5 minutes. Then again we will wash our slides in running tap water until the sections are again blue by dipping in an alkaline solution. Alkaline solution will be ammonia water, or then first we have to dip it in the ammonia water so that environment will be clear, environment will be made as ammonia, and then followed by the tap water wash. Okay, then we will proceed with our counter stain. Okay, hematoxylin staining we have done. Now we have to done with the counter stain. We have proceed with our secondary stain. So now we put our slides in the 1% eosin Y here is yellow, for 10 minutes. Now we have to put our slide in eosin Y for 10 minutes, next 10 minutes. Again, after every staining procedure, you have to wash the slide to remove excess material, excess hematoxylin, excess alcohol, or excess eosin. So after dipping your slides in eosin, you again have to wash your slides in the running tap water for, not the running tap water, here also we have a container of the water, so you can wash it for 1 to 5 minutes. Now you again have to dehydrate. Before microscopy, you have to dehydrate your slide again. In the initial step we dehydrate when we make the paraffin wax block, then we have to rehydrate in our staining procedure, and again when we have done with the staining, we will dehydrate our slide. Okay, with the increasing concentration of alcohols again. as we have discussed already, when we have to dehydrate our samples, so we have to put our slides in the increasing concentration, and we have to rehydrate, we will done with the decreasing order. So here we have to dehydrate, so we'll done with the increasing concentration, and then after clear in the xylene. When you have dehydrate, so there is an excess alcohol, so you have to remove that excess alcohol from your slides. So now you have to dip your slides in the xylene to clear the slides. Then you have to mount it in the mounting media, and now your slides are ready to observe under the microscope. So this is the procedure of H&E staining. Now finally you can observe your slides under the microscope. So how the result and interpretation will be? So in H&E stain, nucleus will be blue black. Okay, nucleus will be blue black with the help of the hematoxylin. Cytoplasm will retain pink color with the help of the eosin. So we don't have only two materials like cytoplasm or nuclei in our tissue sections. We have also other materials also, like muscle fibers, RBCs, fibrins, and so on. So they will take different colors. Like if their muscle fibers are present, they will stain deep red. If RBCs are present, though they will stain orange red. And if fibrin is present, so they will stain in pink color. Okay. So here is the diagrammatic representation, how you observe different materials in H&E staining. So here, suppose this is a blue color, this is your nucleus. This is the pink color, this is your cytoplasm. Or if there is any other thing, like this is the slide of blood smear. Blood smear with H&E staining. So like platelets, these are the platelets which retain the blue color. These are the WBCs, so it retains the blue color. Again, these are the RBCs, so these are of pink color, and central polar which does not stain. So like this, you can differentiate different materials which are present in the tissue sections. So in today's lecture, we are discussing what is histopathology, what are the stainings. So there are different types of stainings which we will continue in our further lectures. So today what we are discussed, we are done with our routine staining, H&E staining. So in our further lectures, we will discuss special stainings and other particular stainings for the particular materials. Okay, thank you and have a great day.